This is the Think Theater podcast, part of the Vision series of PlayMakers Repertory Company, the premier professional company in North Carolina. I'm Lauren Van Hamert, an arts journalist and host of the Beltline to Broadway podcast. And if you are a theater nerd like me, you are going to love hearing about the creative process from playmakers, designers, directors, and creatives in their own words. So let's get started and take a deep dive into Hamlet with PlayMakers producing artistic director Vivienne Benesch and company member Tia James.
Tia James, she, her, they, and I'm playing Hamlet.
And I'm Vivienne Benesch, she, her, hers, and I'm playing the role of the director. 2 years ago, when I was sitting watching our production of Julius Caesar, where Tia was playing Mark Antony, I sat in the audience and I really had that aha moment. I was like, oh, we have to tell Hamlet. We have to tell Hamlet with Tia. And I've been wanting to work with her on a great Shakespeare piece anyway. Hamlet had not been on my list, but it literally I went, oh, of course, it has to be Hamlet in some ways, because the role to me has and demands what Tia brings everywhere she goes, which is this combination of like huge heart and curiosity mixed with like fierceness and complexity and neurosis and vulnerability, and that she is, as a human and an actor, someone who is eager to be in the mud. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but to be in that soup together, and I wanted to be the person to sort of create that with her and with our company.
I feel like part of the reason why I love Shakespeare is that growing up, with what you're saying about a big heart, I feel like I've always had like an incredible amount of feelings and emotions. The well has always been full. But when I was younger, I think I had a very hard time articulating myself or articulating that feeling. My theater teacher, my mentor, Sarah Dixon, she was working with me on Helena. Oh, spite, oh hell, I see you all are bent. And I'm like, oh, this language matches how I feel. And so I don't know, I think since Shakespeare, it was just a way of making me wrestle with my language and how I communicated. So I think that's why I love Shakespeare so much. It really came at a time where I needed help with words. Hamlet, I think it's always that thing, that role that every actor, everybody knows a little piece of Hamlet, and everybody dreams about, playing the role. But what's interesting is that I have always wanted to, or always had a line or two in my back pocket, but never really thought or imagined, oh, I'm gonna play Hamlet sometime. And it was really Julius Caesar that opened the doors to it. I think for so long I've been holding myself in a bit of a box of what I can do, or what I thought people would allow me to do. And so with Julius Caesar and Andrew Borba, which I thought that he was gonna choose me for Portia. I was like, just looking at our company, I was like, all right, at that time it was 30. I was like, all right, I'm gonna play Portia. And so it was a complete surprise, a wonderful surprise. And so I think that was the moment where it was like, whoa, I can do that. Gender does, it means something. It can alter or unpack things in a different way.
And that's been a decision that we've made too, is that we have in this case changed all the pronouns. And it isn't just Hamlet that is a woman, it is also Horatio and Laertes, and that I'm really excited because it is opening up the possibilities inside the script and the stories and how we view them, that we think we know this place so well, and some will be coming to it for the first time and others for the 50th time, but suddenly relationships that were always father and son and mother and son are now mother and daughter, father and daughter, and female friendships and how those work, and how all of that will get illuminated, because the story doesn't. What's amazing about Shakespeare, again, I wonder if you found this in the other roles that you've played this way, there is a highly developed feminine in Hamlet. It already existed, but the feminine doesn't belong to woman and the male and the masculine to men. It is human, and so the sort of the investigation that way to me is it's really revelatory and empowering. I'm excited to get into the rehearsal room and see the combination of identities that bring to the table. So it was really, for me, mixing being authentic to what the play says is happening and to creating our own world. It's one of the things I love about Shakespeare. You actually really can invent a world. I'm sort of imagining it 30 years from today. I've been talking sort of about it being retro-futurist, but I don't mean that in the sort of sci-fi way. I mean that in the sense that the issue of queerness specifically is not otherized in this world. It just is part of the social complex there, even at the highest level of the monarchy. There is still a monarchy in this world, and in our case, it is a black family monarchy in our Denmark, and Polonius has 2 daughters, and in my mind, 2 adopted daughters, and sort of, again, you build an identity that doesn't get, what is important to me is that we're not trying to justify things or inch them in to make sense. We are trying to build a world in which the performers can access the narrative and the story of the play so that the audience's experience of it is unique but authentic and genuine. We have a live soundscape. A musician, Peter Vitale, who will be kind of orchestrating, and as I see it, very much going on the journey with Hamlet and driving that journey. So there are, people can expect what I call a visceral and intimate and psychological experience of the play. There is what is happening in the story, and then there are all these soliloquies, right? These soliloquies, these conversations with the audience, with yourself, with, we're still playing, we're going to discover what that is exactly. But many of those are very philosophical, psychological, and they intersect, to me, this Shakespeare play in a much more psychological thriller way than a lot of soliloquies in a lot of other plays. And that we follow, because even Richard III doesn't philosophize about the world and the nature of humanity in the same way that Hamlet does, and takes as her own dilemma, but also humanity's dilemma. And I think that's, to me, the exciting part, that it's very personal, but it blows up into this kind of humanistic, psychological, the size of it is big that way. And the build, and so that the action as it goes along, will you or will you not revenge your father's death? You know, it's always that question of, well, why doesn't she just do it? Boom, then we're done. But no, there's an entire 5-act play that you don't do it. And to me, what's interesting about that is both the very personal, the relationships that you have with your family and with your closest friends. And what happens is that Hamlet's entire understanding of who and what to trust gets turned on its head. And so, again, to me, the psychological thriller is that that distrust or that revelation of being alone in this world and possibly alone in the world turns into like, where will it send you? Where will you self-destruct? Will you commit another murder? Will you like all of those things become? If you don't know the play, it's a great whodunit, right? It's a combination of whodunit and then what will Hamlet do? Constantly at odds with, what does this mean about humanity?
I love what you're saying about humanity, because I think right now in my unpacking and exploration throughout the text, I think that's where I'm at of understanding that Hamlet has become with this lack of trust, or realizing or really seeing who people are, or what's behind a mask or a veil, that you can't trust people, and that humanity, the line of like, what a piece of work is a man, the beauty of the world, and yet, we can be so inhumane. It's the questioning of, and I think that might even be the hard part, or Hamlet's struggle in following through with the act, because to take a life, am I just as, as horrible as all the people that are around me?
Yeah. I think there's a little part of me that really wants to succeed in doing this, telling this story with a great group of women, and it not being about like, oh, this is about like, this is a women's version of the story. Like, again, I'm interested in like, look at all that is revealed when this is told through the lens and experience of women, of more women. So it's not that it's important. I don't have an agenda of, this is a feminist Hamlet. That is not my agenda at all. Feminism will come through it, just depending on the actor and how they approach and what comes out, and will be about these again, Tia is this fierce, heart-forward woman. What does that do to the story? That's important to me, that opportunity, rather than a sort of like, I want this to be a particular feminist story. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It's just where I'm coming from right now. Yeah. For those for whom this is their first time seeing Hamlet, I hope they fall in love with it and want to go read it, see it, go. I think there's always that. It's like, oh my God, the addiction that can happen when Shakespeare is well done. That I hope that we have a show that makes newcomers feel addicted and makes returners go like, wow, what a fascinating take on this play.
The PlayMakers Repertory Company production of Hamlet opens January 25th. For more information, visit www.playmakersrep.org.